It begins with a lie, one you were taught as a child, that good people are rewarded, that fairness governs the world, and that decency alone is enough to earn respect. But as the years pass, you notice the cracks. The man who follows the rules gets passed over. The one who plays the game walks away with power. And somewhere deep inside, a realization begins to take root. The world isn't built on justice, it's built on control. John Sanders was a high school teacher in Chicago for 18 years, respected, responsible, and honest. But after one false accusation from a politically connected student's parent, John was quietly dismissed. No investigation, no defense. His integrity meant nothing. The truth didn't matter, perception did. That's when John realized he'd been living under an illusion, that truth had weight, that morality had value in the real world. It was a painful awakening, but it was also a rebirth. Philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli once warned us, men are not loyal, they are useful. They follow strength, not virtue. And it's true. People align themselves not with the good, but with those they believe can elevate or protect them. This isn't cynicism, it's survival instinct. Evolution wired us to obey the powerful, not the righteous. If you still cling to the belief that decency earns loyalty, you'll spend your life as a pawn in someone else's game. Let's be clear, this is not a call to abandon ethics. It's a call to understand the battlefield you're on. You cannot wield influence if you're blind to the rules of the game. Power flows not from loudness, but from leverage, not from kindness, but from composure. It is the man who remains calm in conflict, who controls perception in chaos, who shapes reality in silence. That man gains true authority. Modern psychology supports this. Studies in behavioral science show we're driven by unconscious impulses: fear, insecurity, desire. People don't respond to logic, they respond to presence. If you seem strong, they believe you are. If you project calm, they assume control. In this world, appearances are not superficial, they're foundational. Control how you're seen, and you control how you're treated. So I ask you to begin this journey with clarity. The fortress you must build is internal. You won't find safety in applause or protection in virtue. What you need is strategy, self-mastery, and the unshakable power of psychological insight. The world will not reward your goodness, but it will respect your strength if you know how to project it. And if you're ready to begin, declare it now. Say the words aloud. I am the fortress. Let that be your initiation. The world does not care who you are. It only responds to who you appear to be. This is one of the hardest truths most people never learn. They believe that authenticity is enough, that substance outweighs presentation. But walk through any courtroom, boardroom, or dinner party, and you'll see the opposite. People don't judge based on truth. They judge based on perception. Thomas Weller was a veteran sales executive in Manhattan. Brilliant, reliable, and deeply knowledgeable. But he lacked presence. He spoke too quickly, dressed carelessly, and fidgeted in meetings. A younger, less capable colleague, polished and charismatic, soon replaced him. The clients didn't care about experience. They cared about how confidence looked. Thomas had the talent, but not the image. An image won. This is the foundation of psychological influence. Reality matters less than belief. You could be strong, wise, and capable, but if others don't perceive you that way, it's as if those qualities don't exist. You are invisible. That's why controlling perception is not vanity, it is strategy. If a lion looks timid, the hyenas will attack. On the battlefield of life, appearance is armor. Modern neuroscience confirms this instinct. The human brain processes visual and behavioral cues before logic. Within seconds of meeting someone, we label them: confident or weak, dominant or submissive. These labels are sticky. First impressions often become permanent judgments, regardless of evidence to the contrary. If you appear uncertain, you are dismissed. If you radiate stillness and strength, you are trusted. So what does this mean for you? It means you must master your image with precision. Your posture, your tone, your rhythm of speech. These are not trivial. They are your battlefield weapons. Speak slowly and clearly. Move deliberately. Maintain eye contact. Dress with intention, not for trend but for presence. Show less emotion. Listen more than you speak. Let people feel your composure before they hear your thoughts. When you learn to control how you're seen, the world begins to treat you differently. You don't need to prove your value with noise. Your silence will do it. You don't need to beg for respect. Your energy will command it. People trust what they see more than what they hear, and once they believe you are untouchable, they begin to treat you as untouchable. This is your power. Build it, shape it, use it. Say it aloud. Power is perception. Etch it into your identity. Fear is a deeper motivator than love. It's uncomfortable to admit, but vital to understand. Love is fickle. It shifts with mood, distance, and disagreement. But fear, real instinctual fear, roots itself in the subconscious and holds firm. If you want to command respect, fear is a far more reliable foundation than affection. Susan Morgan, a district manager in Dallas, learned this the hard way. She tried leading her team with kindness. She accommodated requests, avoided conflict, and always sought to be liked. But over time, her team grew complacent. Deadlines were missed, standards dropped, and worst of all, no one took her seriously. It wasn't until she set hard boundaries, enforced consequences, and stopped apologizing that the tide shifted. Respect was restored, not because she became cruel, but because she became firm. Fear doesn't mean brutality. It means presence. It means becoming someone people don't want to disappoint, not because they love you, but because they know you won't tolerate disrespect. It's in your gaze, your tone, your stillness. It's in the unwavering way you enforce your standards. People sense when a line cannot be crossed. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Not because cruelty is admirable, but because fear ensures boundaries. Psychological studies confirm this. People are more consistent in behavior when consequences are clear. Fear, when measured and controlled, creates stability. Love, without respect, invites chaos. Think of fear not as a weapon to harm, but as a shield to protect. You don't need to yell or threaten. You don't need to instill panic. True fear lies in uncertainty, the subtle sense that you are not someone to test. When people see that you are not moved by approval, not desperate for friendship, and unwilling to compromise your values, they begin to tread carefully. The fortress-minded man does not crave affection. He values recognition. Not the shallow kind that comes from praise, but the deep, instinctual kind that comes from presence. When you enter a room, people should feel that you hold yourself to a higher standard and will hold them to it too. That is power. That is the leverage fear gives you. Say it now, not to others but to yourself. My presence commands respect. Let those words shape how you carry yourself from this moment forward. The greatest war you'll ever fight is the one within yourself. It's not against enemies, critics, or rivals. It's against your own emotions. Rage, fear, jealousy, lust, insecurity. These are the chains that quietly control men. They sabotage relationships, blur judgment, and leave you vulnerable to manipulation. If you want to become untouchable, you must master them, not suppress them. James Holloway, a former Marine turned entrepreneur in Denver, understood combat. He faced danger overseas, but his hardest battle began when he returned home. Anger consumed him. Every slight, every setback triggered an emotional storm. He lost friends, scared off investors, and nearly destroyed his business. The day he stopped reacting, the day he started observing his emotions instead of being consumed by them, was the day everything changed. He didn't eliminate emotion, he disciplined it. Machiavelli warned that the man who cannot master himself will be mastered by others. And modern psychology agrees. Emotional reactivity is the first target of manipulation. Politicians, advertisers, even partners, consciously or not, use your emotions to steer your behavior. They provoke guilt, stoke fear, trigger desire. If you can't pause and think clearly when emotion rises, you are no longer in control. But when you feel without flinching, when you can observe your anger, notice your jealousy, recognize your sadness without being ruled by it, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You become the storm others try to read but never fully understand. That uncertainty builds influence. The untouchable man doesn't run from emotion, he refines it. Anger becomes strategy. Sadness becomes introspection. Desire becomes discipline. While others spiral, he remains grounded. And in chaos, that stillness becomes magnetic. People lean toward what they can't shake. They respect what they can't rattle. Emotional mastery is not about denial, it's about dominion. You can feel deeply and still act wisely. The crowd rages, the king calculates. Be the king. Repeat this until it lives in your marrow. I am unmoved. Let that become your shield when emotions rise. Let it protect the fortress you are building, brick by brick, thought by thought. Power is not taken by force. It is cultivated through influence. And the sharpest instrument of influence is not forceful commands, but subtle manipulation. Though the word makes many recoil, manipulation in its purest form is simply the ability to shape outcomes by shaping perception. It is persuasion with precision, intent without exposure. Rebecca Cole, a political consultant in Washington, D.C., never raised her voice in strategy meetings. She never argued, never pleaded, but decisions consistently shifted in her favor. Why? Because she understood one truth. People don't follow logic. They follow what makes them feel seen, needed, or powerful. She fed egos when needed, withheld attention when effective, and never revealed her full intentions. Over time, colleagues unknowingly moved at the pace and direction she set. That is mastery. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to be both the lion and the fox. The lion enforces, but the fox endures. Brute strength fades. Clever influence lasts. Most people chase attention. They overshare, overexplain, and overreach. But the manipulator with discipline never does it for spectacle. They do it for position, for leverage, for quiet control. Modern behavioral science supports this. People crave affirmation. They want to feel important. When you control their access to that feeling, when your praise is rare, your attention selective, they begin to seek your approval. And that desire is the leash they place around their own neck. This isn't cruelty. It's understanding human behavior. If someone believes you are the key to their advancement, their recognition, or their safety, they will align themselves with you, even at their own expense. They will defend you to others. They will silence their doubts. All you must do is remain strategic, not emotional. But beware, manipulation must serve a purpose larger than ego. It must strengthen the fortress. Never manipulate for validation. Manipulate for positioning. Manipulate to move the board without revealing your hand. Give selectively. Reward strategically. Each act should create a ripple of obligation. Each word should echo with weight. This is not the path of the brute. This is the path of the tactician, the man who leads without demanding it, the woman who is followed before she speaks. This is power, not in volume, but in structure. Say the words now and make them your code. I bend the game to my will. Let every interaction from here forward be shaped by purpose, not impulse. Power does not require dominance. It requires belief. The most formidable people in history were not always the loudest or the most aggressive. They were those who projected an aura of untouchability. Before they ever acted, others deferred to them. Why? Because their presence said without a word that challenging them would be a mistake. Take Marcus Reed, a federal judge in Boston. He rarely raised his voice in court. He never boasted or barked orders. But the moment he entered the courtroom, silence fell. Not because he demanded it, but because his stillness, his posture, his unshakable composure projected something undeniable: control. Lawyers stumbled over words. Juries leaned forward. Even hardened criminals sat straighter. His aura did the work. You must understand this. People scan for power constantly. They read posture, eye contact, stillness, tone, and they make decisions in seconds. If your presence leaks neediness, they feel it. If it radiates self-mastery, they obey it. This is not mysticism, it is behavioral psychology. People are wired to follow the one who appears centered, unaffected, and composed. Machiavelli taught that even when weak, a ruler must appear strong. Appearance becomes reality. People fear what they do not understand. Mystery expands authority. The less you reveal, the more people project power onto you. Your job is not to convince others you are untouchable. It's to become someone they would never think of touching. Start with your body. Stand tall. Move slowly. Eliminate nervous gestures. Let silence become your punctuation. When others speak emotionally, listen with calm detachment. When asked a question, pause before answering. Every beat of stillness adds weight to your words. You are not hiding. You are commanding. Next, control your exposure. Do not share every detail about your life, your plans, or your thoughts. Mystery is armor. What people don't know, they fear. Speak less. Let others fill in the gaps with awe. And finally, detach from validation. When people sense that you need nothing from them, not attention, not approval, they begin to feel they need something from you. The aura of untouchability is not a costume. It is cultivated. It is reinforced through action, stillness, and unwavering standards. Begin with this declaration: my aura is my armor. Say it, embody it. Let it shape every room you walk into from this day forward. A fortress is not built through kindness. It is built through strategy. If you wish to rise above the noise of the world, to become unshakable, respected, feared, you must stop moving aimlessly. Power does not belong to the strongest man in the room. It belongs to the most strategic. In Atlanta, a man named David Linwood built a real estate empire from scratch, not because he had more capital, but because he had a plan. He studied his competitors, tracked every market shift, and struck only when conditions favored him. While others rushed, he waited. When others chased opportunities blindly, he maneuvered silently. He didn't win by chance, he won by calculation. Machiavelli warned us, fortune favors the strategist, not the impulsive. Impulse is the downfall of most men. They react emotionally, chase temporary wins, and fight unnecessary battles. Their lives are scattered, their energy diluted. They confuse activity with progress, and in doing so, they waste their strength. To become untouchable, your moves must be precise. Every word must serve your image. Every silence must serve your positioning. Every relationship must be weighed for value, risk, and purpose. Ruthless strategy is not about cruelty, it's about clarity. You must know who deserves your time, who threatens your power, and who can be molded to serve your larger vision. That means holding information back. That means letting others underestimate you. That means playing a longer game than they can even perceive. The strategic mind understands timing. He doesn't strike when he's angry. He waits until his opponent is exposed. He doesn't act for attention. He acts for outcome. But understand this, strategy comes with sacrifice. You will walk away from people you once depended on. You will cut ties with habits that feel good but cost you power. You will learn to say no to quick validation so you can say yes to long-term victory. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Ask yourself, are you playing to win or just playing to survive? Are your moves deliberate or are they reactions? This is the dividing line between the ordinary and the untouchable. Say it now and let it guide every step you take from here. I choose strategy over impulse. Let that be the principle that anchors your rise. Attachment is the weight that sinks most men. Friends, lovers, beliefs, identities, they start as comforts, but over time they become chains. And when survival demands detachment, most are too emotionally entangled to let go. They fall not because they were weak, but because they were unwilling to cut loose what no longer served them. Anthony Graves, a crisis negotiator in Los Angeles, had to learn this the hard way. Years into his career, he trusted a longtime partner blindly. When a situation went south, that loyalty nearly cost him his life and others. From that day on, he shifted. He still trusted, but never without verification. He cared, but never without boundaries. His mind became sharper, colder, and more focused. He didn't lose his humanity, he mastered it. Machiavelli warned leaders not to rely on loyalty. People are loyal only as long as it serves them. When survival, ambition, or fear pull harder, loyalty evaporates. And it's not personal, it's human. Behavioral economics confirms this. People consistently act in their own interest, especially under pressure. If you build your foundation on the assumption of permanence, you build on sand. Detachment is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of clarity. It allows you to walk away when necessary, without emotional collapse. It allows you to love without dependency, to lead without begging for validation. The detached mind doesn't flinch when people leave. It doesn't panic when plans change. It adapts. It endures. Understand this. When you are emotionally needy, you are predictable. And when you're predictable, you're controllable. But when you detach, when you can care deeply yet act logically, you become unreadable. No one knows if you'll stay or walk. That mystery becomes your strength. People respect what they cannot control. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming sovereign. Attachments that threaten the fortress must be examined. If they weaken your focus, distract your mission, or exploit your loyalty, they must be released. Yes, it hurts, but pain is the toll for freedom, and freedom is the foundation of power. Now ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? What emotional ties are draining me? Reflect honestly. Then speak the words that define your next step. I walk away without fear. Let it be the blade that cuts your chains. Let it be the gate that leads you into the fortress of clarity. Silence is not emptiness, it is a weapon. And in a world addicted to noise, the quiet man becomes the most powerful presence in the room. The loud reveal themselves. The silent conceal leverage. If you wish to become untouchable, you must master the art of silence and the strategy of secrets. Meet Evelyn Ross, a senior defense attorney in Philadelphia. In court, she was brief. In meetings, she listened more than she spoke. Her opponents often mistook her stillness for uncertainty, but when she struck, her arguments were airtight. Why? Because she had gathered everything while revealing nothing. Her silence made her unreadable. And in law, as in life, unpredictability wins. We live in an era of oversharing. People broadcast their thoughts, goals, and emotions, hoping to be understood or admired. But every word you offer is data that can be used, twisted, or weaponized. Every thought exposed is a vulnerability mapped. The wise know this. What is concealed is protected. Machiavelli wrote that secrecy is the guardian of power. When your plans are invisible, your enemies prepare for phantoms. When you say nothing, they imagine everything. And what people imagine is often far more intimidating than the truth. This psychological discomfort, this fear of the unknown, is a form of control. Silence also builds value. The less you speak, the more people lean in. Your words gain weight. Your presence expands. You become the mystery that others feel compelled to solve. And people follow what they can't explain more than what they fully understand. But silence must be strategic. It's not about hiding out of fear, it's about selecting when and how to reveal. Speak only when it shifts power. Share only what strengthens your image. Let others chase your meaning, not your approval. Even in conflict, stay quiet. Let your silence unsettle. Let it echo. Secrets, too, are tools, not just the ones you protect, but the ones you plant. Let others believe what benefits you. Feed their assumptions subtly. Guide their conclusions without confirming anything. The best manipulation is the one that never appears deliberate. Now reflect. Are you bleeding power through unnecessary speech? Are your words cheap or calculated? Begin today to reclaim your control. Let your silence speak louder than noise. Say it aloud and mean it. My silence is my power. Let that truth anchor your discipline, sharpen your image, and secure your fortress. All the principles you've learned, perception, fear, emotion, manipulation, presence, strategy, detachment, and silence, lead to one final transformation, the building of the untouchable fortress. Not of stone, but of mind. Not a castle that stands above others, but a core that cannot be shaken by anything outside it. Carol Jensen, once a high-ranking executive in Silicon Valley, lost everything in a scandal sparked by lies. Friends vanished, reputation collapsed. Yet she returned 5 years later, not with vengeance, but with a clarity and composure that silenced her critics. She had rebuilt, not her status, but herself. And once her inner fortress stood, her external success followed. Machiavelli spoke to kings, but his wisdom applies to all of us, because in truth, each of us rules a kingdom, our mind. And if you do not govern your mind with clarity, control, and discipline, it will be governed by others, by emotion, by culture, by manipulation, by fear. Your fortress begins with sovereignty of thought. You do not allow ideas into your mind without scrutiny. You question what others accept. You are not swayed by applause or insult. Your opinions are earned, not adopted, and no voice outside you is louder than the one within. The second wall is emotional control. You no longer react, you respond. Betrayal may sting, but it does not destroy. Chaos may swirl around you, but your inner stillness holds. Emotion does not lead, it serves. Then comes perception. You decide how others see you. You craft your image not to deceive, but to protect. Your presence becomes intentional. Your silence becomes strategy. Your movements calculated. You no longer live on display. You live on purpose. Next is strategy. You move like a chess master, not a gambler. You measure risks. You make allies carefully. You never show your full hand. You never speak without reason, and you never act without benefit. Detachment forms the gate. You walk away when needed. You let go when required. No attachment outweighs your mission. Your comfort is secondary to your clarity. You are not heartless. You are focused. Finally, secrecy and silence seal the structure. You are no longer readable. No one knows your next move. No one can predict your thoughts. You speak when it matters. You reveal when it strengthens you. You move in quiet, and others wonder how. This is the untouchable fortress, not a performance, not an illusion, a reality built over time, over pain, over repetition. Most will never build it. They want approval, not sovereignty. They chase applause, not power. But you are not most. You are becoming something greater. Declare it now if you're ready to complete what you've started. I am the untouchable fortress. Say it not with ego, but with certainty. Say it for yourself, not for the world. And tomorrow begin again. The fortress is built daily, and once it is built, nothing can tear it down. Every fortress requires vigilance. Once built, it must be maintained, because the forces that seek to infiltrate it, fear, distraction, manipulation, are relentless. And the moment you stop sharpening your edge, the world begins to dull it. In Miami, Robert Hayes, a retired Navy officer, transitioned into corporate leadership. He brought discipline, focus, and poise. For years, he was untouchable. But over time, comfort crept in. He stopped reading, stopped training, stopped reflecting. Slowly, his instincts dulled. Colleagues who once respected him began to bypass him. His fortress, though once strong, began to decay. Not from outside attack, but from internal neglect. The lesson? Power is not a one-time achievement. It's a process. It's a daily commitment to clarity, to discipline, to awareness. The moment you assume you've arrived is the moment erosion begins. The untouchable man is not a man who has nothing to fear. He is a man who faces the same fears as others, but prepares for them every day. Reinforcing your fortress means returning to silence regularly. It means retreating into solitude not for escape, but for recalibration. It means watching your thoughts the way a king guards his gates. What influences you? What weakens your focus? What distracts your vision? You must be brutally honest. And it means saying no, often, to people who don't align with your mission, to opportunities that dilute your time. It is time to evolve past old habits and embrace new ones that support your future progress. Each choice helps build your path, and every intention provides structure. Discipline is a form of self-care that guides you toward your goals. Another key element is growth. A strong foundation is one that adapts and evolves. As the world changes, new opportunities and approaches appear, so it is beneficial to keep your strategy flexible. This involves continuous learning, staying open to new methods, and thoughtfully reviewing your techniques. A strong foundation is dynamic and benefits from being refined continuously. Commit to your learning, as your development is key. Take time to reflect, valuing your mindset as a great asset. So, consider where you can find new opportunities for energy and fresh steps. Then, you can joyfully recommit to your journey of growth. Speak the words that restore your edge. I maintain the fortress daily. Let that become your vow, your rhythm, your code. There will be days when the world tests your foundation. When people betray, situations crumble, and the pressure becomes unbearable. That is when the true strength of your fortress is revealed. Not during peace, but in the storm. Terrell Quinn, a financial advisor in Houston, lost everything in the 2008 crisis: his firm, his home, his confidence. For a year he drifted, angry, broken, but when he finally stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What must I become?" he rebuilt, not just a business but a mindset, one that could not be shattered again. His second rise was slower, quieter, but it was permanent, because this time it was built on discipline, not momentum. You cannot control the storm, but you can build something that doesn't collapse under it. The untouchable fortress is not about avoiding hardship. It's about becoming the kind of person hardship cannot destroy. That doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means your emotions don't decide your future. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means your caring is never a weakness. In crisis, the fortress-minded individual slows down. He doesn't react. He assesses. While others scramble for approval or escape, he roots deeper into principle. He remembers who he is. and more importantly, who he refuses to become. When people show their worst, he does not respond in kind. He becomes more composed, not less. Dark psychology teaches us that people in crisis reveal their true hierarchy of values. Some will sell their integrity for security. Others will abandon loyalty for convenience. Most crumble, but the one who remains still, unmoving, unshaken, becomes the one others begin to orbit. That is gravitational leadership, and it can only come from within. So when your time of testing comes, and it will, remember this: the world is not watching your pain. It is watching your poise. Your calmness in chaos is the final layer of the fortress, and when you emerge from the storm still standing, they will know. This one cannot be moved. Anchor this in your soul today. I do not break. I bend, I learn, I evolve, but I do not break. Let that be your quiet defiance, your hidden steel, your oath to yourself. Most people are desperate to be understood. They crave validation, sympathy, recognition. But that hunger is the very leash that holds them back. The fortress-minded individual moves differently. He does not need the world to understand him. He does not explain himself to gain favor. He operates from a deeper source, internal clarity. Eleanor Sharp, a criminal psychologist in Chicago, once told her graduate students, "The moment you stop needing to be seen is the moment you become truly visible." At first, they didn't understand, but in time they witnessed it. She never chased recognition, yet her work was cited by the highest courts. She never argued for respect, yet the toughest inmates deferred to her presence. She had no need to perform, and that's what made her unforgettable. Understand this: the more you chase approval, the more you repel it. When you explain yourself constantly, when you justify every decision, when you try to convince others of your worth, you're giving them power. You are asking for permission to exist. That is the opposite of sovereignty. Silence, by contrast, is self-assurance. It says, "I know who I am. You'll see it, or you won't, but I won't spend energy proving it." This calm indifference isn't arrogance. It's alignment. And it is magnetic, because people instinctively gravitate toward those who don't need them. This is why the fortress is never loud. It does not boast. It does not seek applause. It stands, and the world adjusts to it. And when you internalize this, something remarkable happens. You stop performing. You stop bending. You stop explaining. And in that space, your real power emerges. Your influence should be quiet but undeniable. When you speak, speak with intention. When you act, act with direction. Let others talk. Let them doubt. Let them misjudge. It does not matter, because in time your results will speak louder than your explanations ever could. So today, I want you to release the need to be understood. Let it go. Replace it with this vow: I do not explain, I do not chase, I build, I become. And those who are meant to recognize it will. Say it now: I do not seek to be understood. Let that be your release from the chains of outside opinion. There comes a point in every journey where silence turns to strength and presence becomes legacy. The untouchable fortress isn't just for survival, it's for transcendence. You don't build it to escape the world. You build it to master it, to rise above reaction and step into deliberate creation. Harold Bennett, a former prosecutor turned mentor in Phoenix, spent the last 10 years of his career teaching younger men not how to win arguments, but how to win themselves. He told them, "You can't lead anyone until you lead your own mind, and you can't lead your mind until you stop chasing everything outside it." His life became a living testament. Measured, composed, immovable. People came to him in chaos and left with clarity, not because he had answers, but because his presence reminded them they could find their own. The final layer of the fortress is influence without effort. When you have built every internal wall, when your boundaries are firm, your emotions mastered, your strategies precise, then you stop needing to push. People feel your weight without touch. They sense your direction without speech. Your life becomes the signal. But this cannot be faked. People can smell pretenders. They know when confidence is hollow. That's why the work must be done in private. Every morning, discipline. Every night, reflection. Every boundary enforced when no one's watching. The fortress is not for display. It is for durability. Eventually, you will meet people who test you, who tempt you, who provoke you. That's when your aura is proven. You will see others rise and fall. You will be envied, misunderstood, attacked even. but none of it will matter. Because your strength does not depend on their recognition. You've outgrown that game. This is where the untouchable man or woman lives, not above others, but beyond reaction, not seeking to dominate, but impossible to move. And this energy shifts everything. Relationships become cleaner, decisions become simpler, time becomes sacred. You no longer run, you draw the world toward you. So speak this truth into existence. I influence without effort. Let it echo in your actions. Let it bleed into your posture, your tone, your schedule. Let it be your final transformation from the one who sought power to the one who became it. This is the end of the path, but the beginning of a new life. If you've made it this far, you've realized the truth. The fortress is not about building walls to keep the world out. It's about building strength so nothing outside can shake what's within. And that strength, calm, deliberate, unshakable, is the essence of power. You are no longer the person who seeks validation. You are no longer reactive, impulsive, or emotionally enslaved. You are not desperate to be seen, heard, or accepted, because you have something far greater, sovereignty. Not over others, but over yourself. Real power, the kind that lasts, doesn't come from control over others. It comes from mastery within, from waking up each day with discipline, from saying no to distraction, temptation, and mediocrity, from choosing clarity when chaos calls, from enforcing your standards even when no one is watching. You now understand perception is power, silence is strategy, emotion is fuel, not a leash. Manipulation, when used with intention, is guidance, not cruelty. Presence is authority, detachment is protection, and strategy, above all, is survival. These are not tricks. These are laws of the mind, of influence, of life. As you move forward, remember this: the world will not stop testing you. People will still provoke. Circumstances will still shift. But now, you no longer bend. You assess, you act, you adapt, you endure. That is the essence of the untouchable fortress, not that you cannot be harmed, but that you cannot be undone. So now, I leave you with a choice. Let this be another video you watch and forget. Or let it be the line in the sand, the moment where everything changed. The moment where you stopped performing and started becoming, where you stepped into clarity, power, and presence, and never looked back. Speak the final words, not as a comment, but as a commitment. I am the untouchable fortress. Let that declaration live in your posture, your choices, your presence. Let it guide you through storms. Let it silence your enemies. Let it inspire those still trapped in noise. And if this journey has spoken to you, if it's ignited something deeper, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to Mental Fort, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice may be the spark that awakens someone else. This isn't just content. It's a call to transformation. You're not here to be average. You're here to become something unshakable, something eternal, a fortress, untouchable.